Howdy, gang, and welcome once again to the Duct Tape Studios. I'm Jeff MacLeod, your host here at the Gaming Gang channel. Thanks for joining me once again. Today, I am going to share my review of the Pathfinder Remastered Monster Core from Paizo Inc. This is written by Logan Bonner, Jason Bowman, Liz Lydell, Stephen Radney McFarland, and Mark Siefter, with additional writing by a slew of other folks. I'd be here 10 minutes if I read all their names. The 376-page hardcover is available now, carries an MSRP of $59.99, or you can grab just the PDF alone for $19.99, which I have to say, that's a pretty rocking deal on the PDF. All right, let's swing on over to the other camera because here I've got the Monster Core for Pathfinder. A few things to mention before we jump on in. First of all, my friends over at Paizo Inc. were kind enough to provide me with this review copy, but neither I nor anyone else affiliated with the Gaming Gang has received any other sort of compensation for me to share this review with you. These days, it's important you know that. We're also not going to look at each and every page of this bestiary, but I do want to give you a really good feel for what you're going to find in this Monster Core. Now, keep in mind, this is for Pathfinder Remastered, but from here on out, I'm just going to refer to it as Pathfinder because that is the current edition of Pathfinder. So let's dive on in. Gotta say, this is absolutely jam-packed with content. And I might end up saying that more than once in this video because it is practically overwhelming the number of creatures and monsters that are contained in this volume. I was kind of impressed, and we'll talk a little bit about that in just a bit. But as I mentioned, there are loads of writing credits and, of course, art credits throughout. So I want to take a moment here, make sure that we do share some credit with the fine folks who worked very hard to bring this volume to fruition. So we'll dive on in. And of course, we're going to start off with a bit of an introduction, telling you how do you use this book? And then we jump right on into the bestiary. Now, the big reason why we see this Monster Core and that we got the remastered edition of Pathfinder, of course, is to get rid of all of the open game license references. So all of that is gone. We do have some changes in some of these species, some of these creatures too, like gnolls are no longer called gnolls. And golems are no longer called golems. In fact, gnolls, they moved away from gnolls because of the open game license. I think Paizo moved away from the term golem simply because there is a religious connotation with a golem that they probably just felt, yeah, you know what? We just don't necessarily need to tie any of these creatures into any real life religions. And I certainly do understand that. So you're going to find all the stat blocks that you need to bring these creatures to life at the game table. So of course, we're going to get their size, what type are they? We get the typical keywords for each of these creatures. Now, of course, because this is for Pathfinder these days, alignment is gone. We no longer have alignment. And I gotta be honest, as far as the bestiary goes, I kind of miss it. I really do. And the reason behind that is many game masters, when they're looking to create encounters and their own homebrew adventures, will kind of flip through bestiaries looking for new creatures, new monsters, new NPCs that they haven't utilized in the past to bring to the table, to add some variety, to spice things up. And if you're looking for a particular sort of enemy, which would maybe have been considered to be a lawful evil or chaotic evil sort of alignment in the past, you no longer have that indicator in the bestiary. You have to read through all of the information about that creature if you're not familiar with it. I mean, we're talking about like bugbears. You know how bugbears operate if you're experienced with fantasy role-playing games. But I would have liked to have seen some sort of just quick indicator. Yes, I get it. We're dealing with shades of gray. We don't want species to all be one thing. I have no problem with that. But give me a little bit of an indicator, because the thing is, if you read the text, it's going to tell you, hey, these things are bad. Well, okay, but you could have just given me a little indicator, save me some time. It's not a huge deal, but I do want to mention that. One big change that we've got in the Monster Core are dragons. We no longer have the chromatic dragons. We no longer have dragons based on colors. Now they are sort of based on element. Not all of them, but some of them. Or they are based on a concept. So as an example, the Mirage Dragon. It did seem to me that the artwork for the dragons is a little bit different as well. A little different kind of character design to them. I might be completely wrong, but just as I read through it, it did look like the features of the dragons are a little more reptilian than they had been in the past. Once again, like I said, it could be my imagination, but really nice. We do get quite a few different dragons, but I can practically guarantee you that Monster Core 2 is going to have a lot more dragons. We do get quite a few celestials as well as demons, devils types. Interestingly enough, now celestials don't all happen to be good, and all demons and devils don't have to be evil. So I thought that was kind of cool also. Something I will point out is, at least to my naked eye, without having to refer back to other bestiaries that previously came out for Pathfinder 2nd Edition, it feels as if these entries don't come across as tied into Golarion as the other bestiaries. It's strange. I get the fact that there was a lot of stripping away of certain things that could tie into the open game license. So I completely understand that. It almost feels like some of that tie-in to the world of Golarion is kind of lost as well. And I want to say, in certain ways, this book almost feels a tad rushed. It doesn't feel completely finished in all respects. It's not terrible. It's not something that really jumped out at me. But just reading through, I kind of got the impression, and I understand, this was something that was put together rather quickly. Yes, I understand Paizo had been working on their own non-open game license Pathfinder, but still, this does feel a little rushed. Now, back to the positives, love the artwork. The artwork throughout is excellent, and I say it all the time. I like the character designs for Pathfinder with many of the various different creatures far better than 5e D&D. Love the kobolds, love the goblins. To me, they have a very unique look to them. The Leshy, of course. So something else about the artwork throughout is, even though we have just a multitude of artists who worked on this, the art style is pretty consistent. It's pretty uniform. We don't run across pieces of art where it's like, oh, wow, that's awesome. Wow, I really like that. And then flip a page and suddenly say, what the hell is that? How did that make its way into the book? No, not at all. The artwork throughout is really, really well done. Now, I know some people out there are kind of curious. We no longer have any hit dice. So I've had people ask, well, How are you supposed to create encounters with experience points so you can level up your characters? All those rules are in the GM core. So you will not have any issues as far as creating encounters and balancing encounters simply because you no longer have hit dice, because we still have the level. We do still have the level of the creatures here. So at a glance, you can tell, okay, so how difficult would an encounter with the tree raiser be? Pretty tough. Pretty tough. As opposed to we just saw the sprite, which a single sprite is going to be pretty easy to overcome. But I love the fact that we've got over 400 entries in the Monster Core. So even with the quibbles I've got, I certainly feel you are definitely getting your money's worth with this Monster Core. Now, something else I have had people ask is the Monster Core just simply the first bestiary now with the OGL filed off? No, it is not. There are entries in here that you would not have found in the first bestiary, just like there's entries here that are missing, which you would have come across in the initial Pathfinder 2nd Edition bestiary. So then we'll finish up with our glossary, creatures by level, and then, of course, some advertisements for other goodies for Pathfinder. And that is a look inside Pathfinder Monster Core from Paizo Inc. Let's swing on over to the other camera so I can share some final thoughts and give this a review score. So even though I've got some minor quibbles, like I said, some of the entries just don't seem as tied into the game setting as they used to in previous bestiaries. And in some ways, some of the entries feel a bit rushed. And I do miss an indicator at a glance to give me an idea of, oh, is this evil? No, yeah, granted, sometimes you can look at the artwork and you're like, oh, yeah, pretty obvious that those things are probably evil. But still, I would have still liked to have seen a bit of an indicator, maybe not necessarily throwing an alignment up there. But once again, I understand why it's been gotten rid of. But this is packed with content, over 400 entries in a single bestiary. Personally, I think that's quite an accomplishment. I feel the artwork throughout is top-notch. Production quality, pretty solid. Of course, paper stock's not as heavy as releases that we see from, say, Roll for Combat or Free League Publishing. But I still think this bestiary should hold up relatively well at your game table as long as you don't abuse it. So all in all, I am impressed by the Monster Core, even though I do have some minor quibbles. This could have easily been a 10 out of 10. It really could have, but it falls a little bit short. So on a scale of 0 to 10, I give the Pathfinder Monster Core a 9 out of 10. I certainly feel that if you are running Pathfinder, of course, you've picked up the remastered books, this needs to be in your collection. And if you are not running Pathfinder Remastered and you don't have a bestiary for some oddball reason, it still needs to be in your collection. So I do highly recommend the Pathfinder Monster Core. All right, that is it for this time out. If you like this video, by all means, please give it a quick thumbs up. Subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel if you haven't already. And if you do subscribe, don't forget, ring that bell. It'll not only let you know when I share videos such as this review, it'll also inform you when my live stream, the Gaming Gang Dispatch, airs Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday evenings right here on YouTube at 7 p.m. Central. Of course, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit gaminggang.com for all latest in tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more you are not going to find on YouTube. You know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. Thank you very much for watching. Once again, I'm Jeff MacLeod. Until I see you next time, I certainly hope all of you get to enjoy plenty of great gaming with your gang.